gentlemen. Welcome to the LUMINAIRE, Local Community Empowerment, proudly presented by Asia Technological University Network, ATU-Net, and Universitas Airlangga. We are very delighted to have all of you here at this event today. It is a great pleasure for me, Mustafira Yusuf, for being here and welcoming everyone. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we would like to getting know each other with ATU-Net. Let us present you a video profile of ATU-Net. Enjoy it. So that one is the video profile of ATU-Net. And I would like to proceed to opening session. I would like to invite the head of Airlangga Global Engagement in this occasion, represented by the deputy head of Airlangga Global Engagement. Please welcome Dr. Dina Septiani.
Thank you, Viro, for a lovely opening. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. A very warm welcome to each one of you, most especially to Dr. Farhana Diana as the coordinator of ATU-Net, and also to Dr. Muhammad Saleh Daim from Universiti Teknologi Malaysia, and to Miss Cynthia Cheng from Singapore University Social Sciences, to all representative co-organizer from ATU-Net members, and all the unit representatives in Universitas Airlangga, as well as LUMINAIRE participants. Welcome to LUMINAIRE program. It is a great honor for Universitas Airlangga to be able to collaborate with Universiti Teknologi Negara, Universiti Teknologi Malaysia, Universiti Teknologi Brunei, University in Kuala Terengganu, Malaysia, and Daffodil International University from Bangladesh under the consortium of ATU-Net. Various communities are currently experiencing major difficulties in conducting direct, meaningful activities due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Therefore, LUMINAIRE highlights empowering community through content creation as its main theme and aims to support local communities in disseminating their positive vibes through its online activities. This program is also expected to accommodate the participant with knowledge and experience in solving problems with content creation generated from group discussion. In this 8 days program, participants will be invited to discuss, share perspectives with the community, and have the opportunity to express ideas through a digital campaign program. Participants will also be invited in some fun activities that includes virtual tour about the history of Surabaya. I also hope that by joining this program, we will have a better understanding on community engagement as well as the role of digital campaign in the community development process amidst this pandemic. This program will not be a success without the contribution of other universities. And with regard to this, I encourage everyone here to stay engaged, to always be proactive, and endlessly support each other throughout the program. Last but not least, I wish you all a fruitful discussion. Thank you for your attention, and once again, welcome to ATU-Net Online Global Classroom Luminaire Program 2020. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay, Miss Dina, would you like to have a group photo with all of the speakers as well?
Sure.
Okay, Tifa, please assist us. We are ready, Tifa. Okay. In one, two, three. Okay. Okay. Okay, we already got all of the speakers to take a group photo. Cahya? Okay, I think it is done. Okay. Thank you so much for the best smile. I've seen a lot of smile for today. Hopefully it is energized for us during this event. So let me continue the opening session. We would like to proceed a video profile. It is a corporate video presented by Universitas Airlangga. These videos conveys the importance of preserving environment for our future generation. This video is also got achievement as the best video gold winner in QS Apple 2020 on last November. Ladies and gentlemen, please enjoy the video.
Don't be confused with the pictures I send to you. It's Earth, but it's our Earth. But by the time you see this, our Earth will be long gone, replaced by your Earth, horrible Earth. And to you, the future generations, we are deeply sorry about it. So many beautiful things that we have now, and all good things that nature has granted to us that you won't be able to have, to see, you won't be able to touch. Sorry, we have polluted your air for a long time. Sorry for our production and consumption habit bring damage to your earth. Sorry that we can't stop ruining the oceans, the forests, and the soil. Sorry for the carbon dioxide we kept releasing. We see the signs, but we decide to do something else in the name of civilizations. We forget what's good of that if there will be no future, no such thing what to call a civilization. We are sorry for stealing your future. Above all, we are sorry that the whole world can do enough to give you a beautiful and safe planet that you can call home. We feel on our responsibility, but you can still save your future for your children. I give you the seeds, plant them one by one until it clears your air, your atmosphere, restore the climate. Dear children of the future, you can still save the earth. Don't wait, act now. And once again, we are deeply sorry. Do not repeat our mistake.
Yeah, that was a corporate video by Universitas Airlangga. As I mentioned, this video convey the importance of preserving environment for our future generations. We do really proud of it. And so I would like to proceed to our, before we proceed to our main agenda, let me invite the PIC of LUMINAIRE to give a general overview about this program. Please welcome Dia Safira. The time is yours.
Hello, everyone. Okay, so before I start my presentation, allow me to screen share my presentation slides first. Okay. Am I audible, everyone?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so can you see my slides right now? Okay.
Yes.
All right. So, hello, good morning, everyone. It's such a pleasure to welcome you all today in this LUMINAIRE 2020 program. So here I would like to give a short brief, the general overview of the program. But first of all, let me introduce myself first. My name is Dia Shafira Putri. For short, you can call me Mishaf or Shafira as one of the committee and the PIC of ATU-Net LUMINAIRE 2020 program. Okay, so in this PowerPoint, I have 3 points to highlight. So I will later explain about the general guidelines of the program, the course outlines, and also the individual as well as the final project. Okay. So in the general guidelines, I would like to give a short explanation about the rundown, the rules of the program, and also the important links. Okay, so for the rundown, as you can see in the first day, today, we are expect you to learn about the community engagement as well as the digital campaign, how the digital campaign can be a role in the sustainable development for the communities. And for tomorrow, the second day of the program, we will have the community presentations from the communities involved in the program. We also have a breed zone community that based on the education social education category. We also have safe street children in a social category community, and we also have peduli sungai sejahtera in the environment category. And the last but not least, we also have into the light community that focused in mental health awareness category. So for the detailed description of the community, please refer to the provided guidelines. Okay. And for the rules, this is the general rules to enter the Zoom meeting in every session. Okay, so the participants are encouraged to join the room 15 minutes before the program starts. And the second, please rename your ID with the following format, like please write your university in front of your names, and then the group where you belong, and also your name. And the third is please kindly mute your microphone when you're not talking. And fourth is always turn on your camera during the program, especially when the discussion start. And fifth, avoid discriminatory language while interacting to each others through chat, video, or any other group discussions. And for the important link, we provide the important link on the group descriptions. The important link will cover about the participants' data, the course outline of the programs, the guidelines of the program, and also the Zoom background. As you can see here, the link is already provided in your group descriptions. Okay, so let's move to the course outline. So guys, in order to obtain the transcript in the program, there are several grading aspects as follows. Class participation, we expect for you to attend at least 2 out of 3 online meetings. So it will be 20% the grading aspects. And for the individual assignment, 20%. The final project will be 45%, and the final presentation, 15%. Okay, so in the program, we also have individual project that is mandatory for all the participants to work on. So for the individual project, as you can see here, the participants should create one of the video content that should be uploaded either in TikTok or Instagram. The themes of the videos could be education, mental well-being, or social and education. So the content of the video could be how-tos, life hacks, tips and tricks, and etc. If you the example, if you want to choose to make a content creation video about mental well-being, you can make like how to how to love yourself video, or how to get rid of toxic people in your life, some things like that. Or if you choose the environment theme, you probably can make on how to recycle plastics, or how to recycle trash, something like that. So it's general theme. You can be as creative as possible. Okay, so for the final project here, we also have the final project, which has the biggest grading aspects in this program. Okay, so the final projects will be the participants required to work and discuss in a group. I believe that you guys already joined your group that has been decided in the letter admissions letter announcement of admissions in the yesterday. Okay, so for each group, we required you to think one digital campaign project from the community that you want to raise and make one sample of the action plan. It could be the form of poster, video, or carousel blog. And the PowerPoint of the digital campaign project, as well as the action plan samples, should be submitted on Thursday, 10 December 2020 at 9 p.m. Jakarta time at the latest. So for further information regarding the final project, please refer to the guidelines that we provide. But don't worry everyone, for the final project, there will be facilitators that will assist you regarding the session. So I believe that each of you have already known your group facilitators. We have Mr. Aka in the group 1. Hello, Mr. Aka.
Everyone.
Yeah, Mr. Aka will be the facilitator in group 1. And also Kak Arda, Mr. Arda. Hello, Mr. Arda.
Hi guys.
Yeah, Mr. Arda will be the facilitator in group 2. And also Miss Lala. Hello, Miss Lala. Okay, Miss Lala will be the facilitator in group 3, and Miss Nia in the group 4, Miss Lia in the group 5, Miss Aldila in the group 6, and Mr. Ricky in the group 7, and Kak Brian in the group 8. So I hope you already know them well. Okay. Okay, guys. So I hope you guys already know your facilitators in each groups. Okay, so I think that's all what I can say. Thank you so much for your attention. Further inquiries, please let me know and write it on the group WhatsApp. I do hope that the programs can be beneficial for you and for the others also today and the future. Okay, once again, welcome to Luminaire 2020, and I hope you can enjoy the program. Thank you. Miss Viro, I'll get back the session to you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Safira, for the brief explanation. It is a crystal clear, all of the programs overview. So we are ready to proceed to our main agenda for today's event. It is keynote speakers with two esteemed speakers. We do really appreciate all of your patience to join this event, guys. We hope that this event will provide you a great insight about the topic. Let me invite the first speakers coming from Singapore University of Social Sciences, namely Miss Cynthia Chang. He is the CEO, sorry. She is the head of Office of Service Learning and Community Engagement at the SUSS, and also Asia Steering Committee of World Access to Higher Education Day, and an alumni of the Asia Pacific Leadership Fellowship and ASEAN Student Fellowship, and also chair of communications on the executive board of a 600 strong global alumni network, and has 20 years experience in youth and leadership through community building in Singapore and the Asia Pacific. So without any further, please welcome Miss Cynthia Chang.
Thank you very much. A very good afternoon and hello from Singapore. Let me just start sharing my slides with you. All right, are we in full screen yet? All right, great. Thanks. I'd like to thank Untitled for inviting me to share a little about the Singapore context. To start, I'd like to honor Untitled for the hard work that has gone into convening all of us here today to commence the LUMINAIRE virtual program. It's really commendable of you. Your action is not only to adapt, but also to innovate, and to be able to turn that adversity into opportunity is something that we really commend of you. Yesterday, I discovered that the title given to my keynote segment was Singapore's Best Practices of Community Engagement During the Pandemic. I have taken some liberty to amend that title a little bit. You can see it on the screen. And let me share a little bit about why I have chosen to do that amendment. We hold true some principles of good practice in community engagement, including the idea that the collective is actually stronger than the individual. And so this is true even when we are all physically isolating, and no one person or no institution or country can claim best practices. And this is for two reasons. So let me, I don't know if it's full screen yet. Let me just double check. Is that full screen for you now? Okay, yeah, so two reasons. The first is that communities are contextual. So what is one best practice in one community may fail miserably in another community. And this is very key about community engagement. And what it means is that in community engagement, it's really essential for us to continuously seek to understand the specific context of the community. Two, because our world faces wicked problems. The issues we face, like food security, climate change, and the water crisis, are so complex and so dependent on so many factors that it's really hard to grasp what the problem really is, let alone how to tackle it, right? And so I'm really glad that UNAIRE has organized this, because collaboration is critical. And having diversity in our collaboration is particularly critical. It really enables us to attempt to understand issues from multiple perspectives. And it's great that you've organized this online program that enables that sort of collaboration for the community across the diversity of countries and cultures in collaboration with your local communities in Surabaya. So with that caveat, let me give you an overview of my agenda for today's keynote. I've been asked to speak on 3 points: how communities continue to strive for their goals despite the pandemic, some community engagement practices in Singapore during this period, and also some strategies for engagement given our constrained physical circumstances, right? So these three are what we're going to start off with. But before I give you a background to some of the challenges, I'll take you back a little backstory of my own, my very first job. I was a fresh graduate working in an NGO based in Singapore that collaborates with partners all around the world. And on the 26th of December 2004, one of the deadliest natural disasters in recorded history struck. This was the Indian Ocean tsunami. It caused major damage to coastal regions. Our friends in Aceh, Indonesia, our friends in Sri Lanka, India, and Thailand were all affected very badly by this disaster. And overnight, the NGO that I worked for came under tremendous pressure to change all of our work to tsunami relief work. And because, of course, of the urgency of the situation, we were able to pivot very quickly, and we did meaningful work in Aceh and in Sri Lanka. But it came at a cost. In order to do so, we had to suspend all our existing projects with communities in other parts of Asia that were not affected by the tsunami. As a young staff, the fact that an emergency of this nature resulted in me having to, in a sense, abandon other communities that we had already been working with, really left a very strong impression on me. I felt very guilty about it. And it's something I still feel some sense of guilt about today. And it became a defining leadership lesson for me. And so much so that I keep this lesson and took it into consideration when we decided on how we would respond to the COVID-19 pandemic. An emergency is not a reason to abandon your existing community partnerships. An emergency requires you to rally even more. So it's great to see that UNAIRE has rallied 4 community partners from Surabaya to participate in this particular program. With that background, I'll give you a background to the impact of the COVID-19 situation on community engagement in Singapore. it can really be broken down into 4 stages: February to March, April to June, and July to present. I'll start with this. What social responsibility looked like for us in February and March. Still early stages. There was no name to the pandemic yet. It was only just beginning to affect our lives, and many educational institutions in Singapore had begun to cancel community engagement activities, the ones that are face-to-face and the ones that are overseas. And we also began to hear some rumors amongst our student population that the university had canceled all community engagement. At that time, this was not true. And we also knew from our community partners that they were under a lot of pressure because many community organizations rely very heavily on volunteers for their operations. And if public volunteers are not volunteering and institutional volunteers are also not volunteering, it becomes very difficult for nonprofits to be able to provide the services that they provide, especially those that deal with people. As a university, we had a social responsibility and we acted swiftly to inform our students that community engagement had not been cancelled, that communities still needed their service, but that they should practice good hygiene and observe community partner safe protocols. And we also mobilized our own community to work with corporate sponsors to distribute care packs. You can see in that photo, distributing it to our frontline workers and distributing hand sanitizers to community members via community centers nationwide. Meanwhile, we also got our student leaders to start discussing with community partners on what kind of adaptation measures they could implement for their projects should more severe situation occur. By March, one of our students tested positive for COVID-19. So social responsibility then became about providing community partners with the option that our students not go to them if they choose to do so. But we still continued to have face-to-face community engagement if the partners were comfortable with that. But by April, of course, that situation had worsened dramatically. And so we complied with our government advisory to tighten measures, and we suspended all community engagement with in-person interaction. The first thing you can see here is our first principle of community engagement, which is to do no harm. And to do so in this situation, of course, is to stay at home. We all know that now. I'll show you a bit about what happened during that period of time when we're all asked to stay at home in Singapore. That was the period of April to June. 50% of our students' projects adapted to remote community engagement. And I will try to very briefly give you some examples of that, how we got them to continue doing social good during COVID-19. Some of the different ways they could propose projects that were not in person. They could do internships, social entrepreneurship, or even research. Some examples are students who used to do face-to-face tutoring with students, with younger children from primary schools and secondary schools, then changed their mode of tutoring to online tutoring using Zoom, providing online lessons. But of course, to be able to do so, you also need to think about who's being excluded by this, right? And so we had community members who rallied. I have a friend, Johan, who's the executive director of Engineering Good, a nonprofit in Singapore, who then rallied the community to say, okay, many school children are now required to do home-based learning, but in a very short period of time, we don't have enough digital devices to be able to cater to all the children who need to do home-based learning. And so they rallied the community and were able to get thousands of used laptop donations and have volunteers to recondition these laptops, and then after that supply them to children who needed them. So, I mean, it's important while you're doing adaptation to also think about who's being excluded by your choice of the technology that you're going to utilize in community engagement, right? Next, of course, in engaging with seniors, there were a lot of webinars. For seniors, there was online exercises for seniors, web call befriending. Similarly, is it digitally inclusive or not? Not all senior citizens were able to utilize the online technologies, right? And so it's important to also have alternatives. We did tele befriending as well. Our students would pick up a mobile phone and call seniors once a week, find out how they're doing, how they're coping with being at home alone. Are there any things that they need? And to report in on their condition to the social workers. Yeah. That's one strategy. Another thing is, you might have heard that the situation in our migrant workers' dorms was especially bad during the peak of the COVID period here in Singapore. And so we had local community partners also who were thinking through the mental well-being of our migrant workers who had to be confined in their dormitories during the lockdown period. They came up with a plan to teach English to the migrant workers during this period of time when they were not able to go to the work site and they were looking for things to do to occupy their time. My husband, he speaks Bengali, I speak Thai. So the two of us, we also signed up as volunteers during this period and did regular call-ins to our migrant worker brothers to check in on their health, but also to have that chit-chat and to be able to practice English together. So the different ways of engaging with the community. Other things we discovered during this period, of course, is that many of our nonprofit organizations, they are unable to do their physical fundraising activities. For example, they can't have a gala dinner anymore. And so what do you do when you're missing that amount of funding that as an organization you need in order to run your operations? So our students and our community partners pivoted quite quickly to run digital fundraising campaigns. During the lockdown period, exercise was still allowed. So they came up with these like footsteps program, right? Where you pledge to clock your footsteps and then you'll have corporate sponsors who provide funding for the nonprofit organization. So this is an example of a fundraising campaign that you can pivot to as well. Similarly, we had community partners who decided that during this period, they would run public awareness campaigns. And so an example would be this curated series of speakers, specialists who can speak about the topic that the organization specializes in, and they can curate speakers from all over the world, right? And so this is also a way for the organization to continue to achieve their goals, but to be able to do so remotely. Other things that you can do for community engagement will also include virtual internships, so working with nonprofit organizations virtually to be able to provide them with the manpower they need, even though you're not able to physically go to their office. We also had a youth expedition project run by our national youth organization. It used to be that groups of volunteers from Singapore would go to our partners in the region to run community service projects in these communities. Of course, given that the borders were closed, we couldn't do so. But they were able to pivot to do this online. And so now you're able to have even more people participating because the community engagement is happening online. Other things that happened for us is that by July, the situation had improved. We were able to start on some small scale community engagement face-to-face. But for large scale things, we weren't able to do so. And so for this year, in the 6th year of our annual community engagement fair, we went online for the first time. We had a 5-day program with over 1,000 attendees. We had 63 speakers representing 35 different community organizations to explain to our students what kind of opportunities were available that either were, for some that were able to face-to-face and for others that are not, remote engagement. That's the background to the impact of the COVID-19 situation in Singapore. So the reality is that while the current conditions in many of our countries mean that the most socially responsible thing to do is to stay at home, it doesn't mean we can't continue to be creative in finding ways to continue serving the community, even at home. Some examples of how I've served the community, our moderator has explained a bit earlier, but let me go into a bit of detail. I serve on the Asia Pacific Leadership Alumni Board, and under that program, for the past 20 years, we've had a day of service. Of course, this year, a day of service not possible, and so we brainstormed how could we utilize this, and we came up with a new initiative, Force for Good, there are many community organizations out there who suffer from a lack of resources at this period of time. So what we did was to decide we will match resources and the skills of our alumni members to community organizations who need it. The other thing I serve on is on the World Access to Higher Education Day. Normally, in other years, this happens in location, physically in a city. But this year, because it had to go virtual, we actually were able to bring in speakers from different countries to be able to represent the perspectives of the different communities. So here, in this example, I have a speaker from Australia, who's representing a university in Bangladesh, speaker from Malaysia representing refugees, and a speaker from Vietnam, who
Miss
is
Cynthia,
yes.
I'm sorry, the time is up.
Oh, sure, all right. Thank you very
Okay.
much. I'll just
Okay, would
end
you
up
like
there.
to have a conclusion with a closing statement before we proceed to our next speakers?
Yeah, actually, it was just coming to that. After this slide was the next on technology mediation. Thinking through what technologies, what are the constraints of technology. And finally, the second thing is on community voice. As you're doing your adaptation, think about the community's voice. What do they have to say about the service that you're going to render to them? And the third thing is to think through, the last thing is to think through the asset-based approach. What exactly is it that is strong and useful in the community, rather than looking at the problems in the community only, not just what is missing, but looking at what is strong and how do you amplify that through your digital campaign. So to conclude, I just like to say, I hope that through this program, you will be able to serve the community, but also to find purpose in your own lives and be able to make new friends and figure out this journey of leading a meaningful life for yourself. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Cynthia, for sharing the Singapore best practices of community engagement during the pandemic. It is a very nice presentation. For students who like to ask questions to Ms. Cynthia, please kindly write down your questions in the chat box. I will read later after the second speakers. Let me introduce the second speakers will talk about community-based initiatives run by Universiti Teknologi Brunei, Malaysia. Will be presented by Dr. Muhammad Saleh Daim. Let me introduce his CVs. He is the head of Sustainable Community Development Center, the Office of Industry, Community and Alumni Network. He is also a senior lecturer in the Center of Study for Park and Amenities, Management Faculty of Architecture, Planning and Surveying UITM. He is also the member of Jawatan Kuasa Pelaksana Geopark Kebangsaan under the Ministry of Energy and Natural Resources Malaysia. And he has 12 years experience of working with the Department of Wildlife and National Parks. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Muhammad Saleh. The time is yours. I'm sorry, doctor, you are still muted.
Already.
Perfect.
Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good afternoon, selamat siang semua, kabare. It's good to see all the young people get together and organize this wonderful event. Congratulations to all. And I feel like I'm a grandpa during this session. So listen to my stories. So okay. What I'm going to present today, my name is Muhammad Saleh Daim from UITM Shah Alam. Okay. And what I'm going to present today is UITM's initiative in helping communities, especially marginalized communities, rural communities, and it's all started way back. Well, actually, it's way back 2000. 2003, 2004, when I started embark into my PhD studies. As you can see from my biography just now, I was with the Wildlife Department for 12 years, since 1991, before I joined UITM. And during that time, my job is mostly working on biodiversity management, and normally looking at conservation and preservation of biodiversity, and mostly from the biological perspective, from the science perspective. So, and then it came to me when we often go to the forest and do all this, camera trappings and inventories and hiking 12 days, 14 days in the forest, and we met uh, the indigenous people, the local communities who live next to the forest, and that triggers me. How can these people, they live in that environment, and how can they help us in terms of conserving and preserving our biodiversity? It started all from there. Until I went to the States and start exploring and start into community participation in natural resource management and whatnot, until I came back, and then that's where I sort of look into preservation and conservation of biodiversity, and also on environmental issues, but on the social perspective. How can we encourage, how we can empower communities to preserve and conserve our natural resources? Okay, thank you. Next. So I hit the center. It's a new center, started in 2018, but actually the initiative has started since 2014. And as a center, we are encouraging translational research. This is what the university is into now. And before that, UITM is a huge university. We have we have campuses in every state, and we have almost 170,000 students in our system. So it's a huge university. So there are also, huge numbers of lecturers and researchers. And that's why, and now we are encouraging into looking into translational research, that research that we can, the outcomes and the results can be applied on the ground. And I cannot see the slides because of our, photos, our videos next to us. So, okay. Never mind. I just go through. I can. So in this presentation, I just want to talk about, to introduce or to mention three keywords. One is community resilience, especially during this pandemic, COVID pandemic time. And two is community-based approach. And three is transformative facilitation. I think these are I'm not going to give lectures on these three terms, but these are the three terms that I sort of try to show in this presentation by using examples. Okay, so through transformative facilitation, we try to build capacity among the local communities so that they can work together, in addressing their needs, but also in within the context of sustainability. When we talk about sustainability, we are talking about biologically sustainable, culturally sustainable, and economically sustainable. So therefore, our center has the objective to strive for environmental conservation and protection in local areas. We want to encourage stewardship and co-management of environment among the locals, among the people who live on site. We want to create opportunities for rural economic developments while thinking into conservation and preservation. We did not neglect, the needs of economic development among the rural people. And finally, this is the most ultimate goal, is trying, we want to create sustainable communities. Some people told me, you are dreaming, you are dreaming. How can you create sustainable communities? So I take it as a challenge, when people look at indigenous people, when people look at rural people who live too close to natural areas, if you often with them, or you are among them, living closely with them, most of the time you can see they are more they have more respects to their environment. They live sustainably, actually. um, exactly like the previous video that shows, actually we are the people who, damaging our environment. Sorry to say, we are the people in the cities, but not these people in the rural areas. They know how to treat their surroundings. Okay, next slide, please, dear Shafira. Okay, this is our initiative. It started way back in 2014. You can see that the map of our peninsula, and just now, Mrs. Cynthia mentioned about tsunami, and I was in Penang that time. I took 80 of my students camping because we have a project in Taman Negara, in Penang National Park. We camped next to the sea. It was on Sunday. I still remember. We hiked back. The student took the bus and go back at 12 o'clock. 1:10, the wave hit our campsite. Imagine that. Okay, so, and then I was at sea, for the rescue mission. Just jump in some fishermen boats and try to see what happened, what we can. So it's a very impact the whole world, and the same like this COVID pandemic. So this is an example of our initiative. Currently, we have 5 initiatives throughout the peninsula, and it started in Taman Negara National Park. As you can see, most of our initiative works with communities close to natural areas or protected areas. Yeah, and our first initiative was in Taman Negara National Park, and then after that, actually, we went to work with the Orang Asli in Krau Wildlife Reserve, and also in Ledang Forest Complex, and also in Kelantan and Negeri Sembilan. Next slide. So, okay, this is our model. Actually, we started in 2014. This village is actually, if you know Taman Negara National Park, you can search. Before the pandemic, this national park received about 150,000 visitors a year. And this village is just 8 kilometers away from the tourist center. And there was sort of there were no tourism spillover to this small community of 30 houses. And then the economic, they did not gain from any economic gain from the tourism sector. They were basically agriculture-based community, but they have a strong connection between one another because it's a small, closely knit community. So when we came to this community and start talking with them, and then they were like, huh? Tourism in our area? We have nothing. So we started to explore, and we found out that this community have a group of people, of young people, and also the old people who works together. They have a group of people who are willing to work. They were willing to work and willing to change. You can see from the photos there. So what we have done is that we came up with we sat down, we discussed, and our method is actually, we did not impose our ideas to the local community. This is transformative facilitation. We do everything based on discussion. The decision is theirs, They talk about it, they think about it. It's their own ideas because we want them to feel their, ownership and belonging of the product towards the end. And our role is just facilitators. We facilitate the process. We encourage the discussion. All the decision making is theirs. So this group of people came up, talk, discuss, and we finally came up with several. This is, you can see there, some traditional products where we call. We have a heritage trail in the village. So they are stationed among villages because we found out the strength in that small village is that there's one lady who used to weave mats, menganyam tika, weave mats from the pandanus. And this is a dying, dying art. It's only this lady. But now, the young generation, the young people has learned how to how to uh, how to make mat, pandanus mat. And you can see that there's gendang, the instrument, the traditional music instrument. It's actually gathered dust at the back of the house, and there's only my friend Apo, the old man there. He's the only guy who can play that thing, you know. So we said this can be shown to the tourists, and we cleaning up everything, and then now the young boys playing it. Boys, they use to technology and games, but now they are interested in drums and whatnot, and also the tops making and everything. I want to tell you about this one. You can see there's the picture of people. Can I use what? Can I cannot show it using my mouse, right? You see that the picture with the red mat on the floor. Did you see? Can you see that? Okay. There's a picture on the right of the screen with the red mat on the floor. That is actually a sugarcane traditional pressing machine. This is traditionally they use this. The story is actually they never use this anymore. So there's one Ramadan when we sat together and drinking sugarcane juice for breakfast, and the conversation starts. Oh, long time ago they don't have machine. People don't have machine. How do they get, sugarcane and everything? And some old folks, start sharing their stories. Oh, we use this, we use that, and then they said, ah, we use this kind of machine. They call it kelang jantung. Jantung means the heart, kelang jantung, but it's actually not about the heart, the jantung, but it's actually, the flower of the banana, before you get the fruits, Uh, so they actually carve the whole thing from one log, and then they put the presser in. There's a hole there. So when one guy say, "Oh, I remember this when I was a child. I saw this thing." And he's a very handy guy. He's good with his head. Apa ni, you know. Craftsman. He's a craftsman. So he started to carve that thing, and we should become a tourism product for our tourists. Okay, beside that, we have set aside 26 acres. So there's a one small patch of forest next to the village, which is a state-owned land, a secondary forest. And then we started to thinking about, can we take this forest? Can we manage this forest? So in 2015, we managed to talk to the local authority and requested for this land managed by the communities, and then they allow it. So now we have a 26 acres of community conserve areas. Community conserve areas, CCA, is in our biodiversity policy, and this is actually a community. that shows example how a community manage their own forests. And then they do rehabilitation, they do replanting. And the best part is that we want to encourage bird species and birds expert among the local people. So now, until today, they have collected, they have recorded 176 species of bird in that small forest. And you can see that the small coconut shell there on the tied on a tree, you know, that is traditional ideas, their ideas. One guy saw his this coconut shell lying around behind his house, and then a bird nesting in there, and he said, can we, you know, to encourage the population, can we put that thing there? And then I said, well, why not? We can attempt that. Now we have about 30 coconut shell, and it actually works. So birds get in there, and then so this area is before the pandemic received visitors, a lot of visitors, especially for bird watching. And now we are in the midst of OECM. This is a national agenda.
Sorry, Dr. Soleh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Excuse me.
My
3
time.
minutes left.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So and then,
Yeah.
okay. So the next slide. And then the next community is this community orang asli. We build Semakberi hunting trail for them. This community live close to the Malay community just now, and they also attracted and they come up with their crafts and everything. So okay, next slide. Just another example. Next slide. And then we went to Kerawala Reserve. This is a community of Cek Wong and Jahud indigenous community. It started when they have a long conflict of land use around the border. So the Department of Wildlife and National Park asked us to come and help them with working with this community. And you can read there, there are several achievements that we have done, and we're still working with them. And this project is funded by the National Park Department, Department of Wildlife and National Park. And we also try to encourage community-based ecotourism in this with this community. Next. And in Ledang, this is a student of mine. He used to follow me working with communities, and when he graduated, he asked if I go back to my kampong, to my village, can I do it? I said, well, by all means. So it's been 4 years now, and he already successfully working in his own village, developing a community-based initiative. And he formed a company of local boys, and then they get mainly visitors from Singapore. Okay, so next. And then this is our latest newest initiative in our campus in Negeri Sembilan, where we are allocating 300 acres of forest in campus as an OECM site, other other effective area-based conservation measures site for Malaysia. This is a ASEAN initiative, and if we already sent our nomination proposal, and if it's accepted, we will be the first university that has the OEECM site in campus. And we will work also together with the communities around the campus. And finally, the latest hot from the oven, I only made 2 trips until now during the pandemic, is in Kelantan. We are working with 12 fishermen community to develop similarly their own community-based initiative, in ecotourism initiative. Next.
I'm sorry, Dr. Saleh, the
Yeah.
time is up.
Okay.
Keep.
All right.
Thank
So
you.
thank you very much all.
Okay. Thank you so much for the brief explanation. Uh, uh, if Dr. Saleh would like to conclude any last statement for the presentation.
Yeah, we learn a lot from the pandemic, COVID pandemic issues. We have started this thing before pandemic, and we learn what happened during pandemic, and we cannot just base on tourism. So we have, you can read from the last slide, there are several post COVID initiative that we are doing. And also we are looking into exploring on virtual tourism. Maybe this is the way that we can help market this community-based tourism product. That's all. Thank you very much. And you are all welcome to come
Okay.
to this area after the
Thank you.
pandemic. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Saleh, for the
Welcome.
insightful talks. So, let me proceed to our next session, is Q&A session. I would like to read the questions from the top, coming from Tasbiul Hussein. He asked, I'm not sure this question addressing to the speakers or, yeah. Do you have any virtual internship program right now for international students where I can enroll myself? Okay, maybe for both of the speakers, Miss Cynthia and also Dr. Saleh. Any thought?
I explained that just now in my slide, so maybe I'll take that question. Yes, we do have a virtual internship program, but it is only for SUSS students at the moment. But I would encourage you, if you are interested to work for a community organization, then please do a search for organizations globally. What kind of area are you interested in? And then prepare your CV and pitch yourself to this organization.
Okay, thank you. And Dr. Saleh, any comments with regard to
Yeah,
the internship programs?
yeah, I agree with Cynthia. You can search and look around. There's a lot of, on virtual,
Yeah.
I mean, online, but not in my center right now. We don't have that yet anymore. We don't have that yet, so we cannot offer. Well, we can explore that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. And for the next questions coming from Unsia, uh, Lambin Samura asked to Miss Cynthia, I think, as you mentioned about the tsunami in Aceh, do you think that the community might be either directly or indirectly be at fault for the damage of the tsunami? And also,
No.
what do you think the community should do to minimize the risk of such a disaster in Aceh? Miss Cynthia?
Yeah, well, my purpose of raising the point about the pivot in during the period of the tsunami was actually more about our social responsibility during emergencies. So it isn't so much about is it the community's fault and what should the community do? It's really about when you as an organization or you as a volunteer, before an emergency, before a pandemic, you already have communities that you're responsible to. Do we, just because the emergency occurs, then we pivot and say we change everything that we are doing? We are no longer going to work with the existing communities and we're going to move into this new area. So there it has to be that balance, even though we say, okay, we have to adapt, but we also have to be aware of our existing responsibilities. So I think maybe that clarification is important, to say that it's not about whose fault it is and about how the community in Aceh needs to make themselves stronger against natural disaster. No.
It's about community resilience.
That's right.
Any additional answer from Dr. Saleh?
Well, I did mention just now it's about community resilience.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
actually about the ability of the local people, to resist, to absorb, to accommodate, and to recover. This is we are experiencing it right now during this pandemic, and to recover through preservation, restoration, and introduction of their essential basic structures, needs, and functions as a community. We first have to understand, like correctly, like Cynthia started her presentation with, unfortunately, we cannot talk about it further on the definition of community itself. People easily say community, but do they really understand what is community? And I would like to pose a question to the whole viewers. Does community have a value? Sounds easy, but it's difficult to answer. So when you go down and work with the communities and you try to look at the values of the communities, not your values to the communities, it's actually learning the values of the communities. Maybe before an adversity, maybe be after an adversity, the values, you have to understand that before you can work with communities. That is my view. So thank you.
Okay, the second questions is coming from Universitas Airlangga participants, Raihanat. Hello, I have a questions for Miss Cynthia. How fundraising will using in Singapore?
Fundraising, I raised that as a example of how, because of the economic situation, we actually have a lot of community organizations, nonprofit organizations who are not receiving enough funds to do the existing work that they have to do, much less to pivot to, like, a lot of organizations now have to go digital, right? But then you need funds to go digital. So where are these funds going to come from? These kind of funds are important to ensure that the organizations are able to continue to serve their beneficiaries, to serve the populations. And so that's what all these digital fundraising initiatives are about.
Yeah.
Dr. Saleh, any thought?
Yeah, you need fun, of course. I agree with that. But like my experience when I work with community, um, I don't want to hang the dollar sign carrot in front of them. We have money, we can work with you. So I just want them to work because they want to do it. The money comes later. So they have to start working first, form a group. And actually, the two villages until now,
Yeah.
we are working without fund, and they came up with, all the
Okay.
recycle thing and do things on their own.
Mhm. Okay. Thank you so much for the clear answer for the questions. Sadly, the session of Q&A is already time's up. However, the committee will complete all of the questions with the permission of the speakers. We would like to addressing the question to the speakers, and we will give the answer to the participant later on. Is that okay to Dr. Saleh and also Miss Cynthia? Okay,
Yeah.
thank you so much. Please big applause to the keynote speaker, guys. Thank you so much for the brief, clear, wonderful, insightful talks. We do really appreciate it for making time to joining this session. So we would like to give a token of appreciation. It is a certificate of appreciation from Universitas Airlangga and also ATU-Net. Please, Tifa. This one is for Miss Cynthia Chang from SUSS. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Let me take a group photo with the certificate. 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay. Cahaya take gitu ya. Tifa is already. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. So for the next speakers, let me give a certificate of appreciation to Dr. Muhammad Saleh Daim from UITM. Thank you so much.
Terima kasih anak-anak.
Terima kasih, thank you Bapak. Matur nuwun in Surabaya
Matur
visit.
matur
Thank
nuwun,
you.
matur nuwun.
Matur nuwun, thank you.
Terima kasih.
Yeah.
Thank you, Cynthia.
Terima kasih. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, all of participants, I would like to proceed to our next sessions. It is a lecture session with theme Introduction to Digital Campaign. This session will be delivered by Mr. Angga Prawadika Aji, Sarjana Ilmu Politik and also Master of Arts. Please welcome Mr. Angga. The time is yours. It is 45 minutes for the lecture sessions. It is included with the Q&A. I will let you know if the time is 15 minutes left, 10 minutes left, 5 minutes left, and also 1 minute left. I will send by chat privately. Is that okay, Mr. Angga?
That's okay. Okay.
Okay,
Thank you
thank
very
you
much.
so much. The time is yours.
Much. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I would like to say I'm really honored to be here to be with all of the international students. I think it's very unfortunately that we cannot meet in person because during pandemics, but I hope that my lecture here can give you more insight about how to create digital campaign actually. But in my presentation here, we will talk about how we handle the community campaign as regarding of what Miss especially Dr. Soleh has delivered before. So um, today we will talk about the introduction to creating PSA or public service announcement campaign. So based on what you have already understand about the community and the community project, how we can help, how we can make these communities, especially the fringe communities that have a very low uh, demand power. Yeah, we need to help them through many projects. For example, like we can help them.
Sorry, Mr. Angga, to interrupt, but we cannot
Yeah.
see your screen right now, and the voice
Oh, I'm sorry.
is kind of noisy, like there is noise with your voice.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Uh, can I? Sorry. Is it okay?
This is
Yeah,
okay,
we
but your
can
voice
hear
is
you.
Okay.
still not clear, Mas Angga.
Hello. Test, test. Um,
Yeah, it is better.
hello. Okay. 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 I'm really sorry because I live in the quite a remote area. Yeah, I'm not live in Surabaya. I live in Malang. It's mountainous area, so maybe the signals could not quite well at the time. Let me start over. Yeah. Hello, my name is Angga Prawadika, and I will be your lecturer today. And I will talk about the introduction to creating PSA, Public Service Announcement Campaign. So, as you have learned before from Mr. Dr. Saleh earlier, that we talk about the communities as the fringe communities, the communities that live outside what we call the urban areas, for example, or the marginal communities, those who have no direct access to, for example, health benefits and then the wealth and so on. This unfortunate part of the community needs to be helped. Okay, and but we also have to share their stories. We need to communicate what they want to say, help them tell their stories to the public as a whole. That's how we create the public service announcement campaign. So basically what we call here in public service announcement campaign is we try to rally people, the public, to join our cause. For example, we want to, you know, ask people how to, for example, save the water, or to live green life. For example, yeah, there are so many reason. There are so many reasons why we have to talk about the community service as a whole. So as the start, I'm sorry. Okay, we can see in this picture. This is the one of the examples about how the digital campaign. It's not digital campaign per se, but the campaign as a whole about how we can help the so many communities and the public, to rally the public to join our cause. So in the left, we can see here is the campaign from the Amnesty International. Is the one of the very famous organization, international organization that deal about the human rights. And one of their campaign is they want to create awareness to the people about the prisoner of war. Yeah, the prisoner of war is the one of uh, the most neglected issues, yeah, in or in this world today. And the Amnesty International wants to say that you people, you public, needs to understand more about what really happened to the prisoner of war, the torture, for example, and then what really happened in so many cases. The yeah, in the area of conflict, the prisoner of war is they don't have enough human rights, and people need to see, people need to understand what these unfortunate people have to go through. And Amnesty International tried to make this campaign, try to create this campaign. Uh, they use it by place a very special sticker to the public transportation, in this case is bus. So people can give the impression that the person that sit in front of them um, has their hand tied, and and that in that sticker it's also say that the the rally cry about the prisoner of war. And then the next picture tells about, it's quite standard actually. The poster that try to tell us to preserve our environment, but yet it's still one of the most pressing matter today, because the climate changes and so on. And I think this is the one of the great examples how the PSA campaigns can be done. Um, as you can see, the poster is about uh, the, the trees with the uh, with the hand. I mean, I'm sorry, the human hand as its main branches. Humanity and nature as one. Yeah, this is a very strong example about how you can deliver um, strong message to the masses, to the public, about how to preserve the environment. So I think the main project that you need to be you need to work when for the week ahead is you need to create such um, strategy like what you have in front of you. You can make it in poster, you can make it in so many medias. I think it's up to you. Regarding how you can help the communities that you've been assigned with. It is not easy to create such impactful campaign. The first thing you need to be you need to understand is you need to understand the objective first. So, for example, if you meet with the communities that um, wants to spread the message about the danger of smoking, for example, you need to be understand what these communities want to achieve. Do they just want to spread the message, or they want to create some kind of a class, for example? They want to. There's so many. Um, there's so many objective that needs to be done. For example, you need to choose the one that most viable. So once you have identified your target audience, for example, you need to outline clear objective for your campaign. Do you want to educate or coordination or change attitude, for example? Uh, I mean, there are so many because there are so many different objectives. It means that you need to create a different strategies. Okay, and what you need to also need to understand is there is no way a single campaign can create so much impact. There's you need to choose one. For example, if you want to create share the awareness, then focus to uh, creating the awareness. But if you want to create to change the attitudes, that's the different story because it needs more time to create the strategy. I think this is the one of the interesting strategy from one of the NGO in England, I guess. They try to raise the awareness about the homelessness in UK. So the homeless person is often neglected, and they often seem as the disease of the society, and they live in a very um, in very dank places. For example, they don't have access to clear water. They don't have money to pay their food, and yeah. So this NGO tried to raise the awareness about homelessness in UK. So they make something a bit different, I guess. Um, so they create the cardboard bed. So the homeless people usually just sleep on the cardboard, and they make a very powerful message on top of the cardboard. Loving the snow, try sleeping in it. It's very impactful, I guess, because it makes people felt that how um, if this story is different, if I have a very different life, I can live as the homeless person. And so by creating this campaign, people are forced to deal with the uh, the reality from the other person, the homeless person. This is quite a strong example, yeah. Um, to in creating the public service announcement campaign. And how can we create such a impactful message? Yeah. First, we need to understand our audience, like I said before. For example, like this. So, for example, your group uh, uh, assigned to the communities that have uh, the communities that deal with for example, uh, sexual abuse, for example. So we need to create our strategy based on our understanding to that community first, and then they to what their communities stand. We need to know that sexual violence of various and then after we understand the audience, we create the structured strategy. First, we want to public to know that the sexual violence is a serious social problem, and then we want to the public to be willing to initiate a conversation about sexual violence, and then the third is we want the public to know where to go in the community to have more information on sexual violence. So in our strategy, we make sure that these three messages included. But how we can formulate these three messages is based on our research, based on our understanding of the communities uh, and their mission. And it is important that these are unique to your own community and representative the needs you have identified. As I said before, that there are so many communities that try to try to um, achieve a different thing, and you need to understand what they're struggling with, and then uh, what kind of audience you want to target and so on. Yeah, one of the important thing also in creating um, the message in digital campaign is you need to identify the audience in your community you want to reach, because there are so many kind of when we talk about public, it means that it talks about so many people, and we need to understand that our message cannot reach to the more. We need to choose the specific parts of the public. For example, um, the youth age from 15 to 20 who like to play online game, for example, and so on. We need to focus on one part of the community. I'm sorry, one part of the public, and try to create the strategy that relevant to that target. Because there's no way we can talk to so many people, the public at all. Um, when we talk to the youth, it's quite different when we talk to the old folks, for example. And we must to have to clear understanding about understanding of who we are trying to reach when we developing a campaign. For example, like in these photos, this one of the most famous campaign creating by the WWF, who try to raise awareness about the loss of the Amazon forest, and I think it's quite impactful. It's quite impactful. Uh, you can see the message is quite clear. When you waste a tissue, for example, it means that you use a tree, and when you waste a tissue, it means that you waste the forest. And at one time, the number of the forests in the world will be diminished, and it's what will be the end of us, the end of us all, for example. And the better you know about your audience and their needs, the more likely you are to have campaign that succeeds in meeting this need. So you need to understand um, who you want to talk with. This is one of my favorite campaign, yeah, because it's quite impactful, I guess, yeah. It's quite same with the previous campaign focus on homelessness in United Kingdom. Uh, so these homeless people, they have difficulties to find stable food every day. They need to forage in in trash bin, for example, trash can, and people usually don't want to see that. So this campaign is quite simple and very creative. They make this special sticker for the homeless every day is a struggle, and then they just place it in various trash can in the city. So when people you know just throw their trash into the bin, they can see the message. It's cool. And when people forced to face the reality that their fellow humankind needs to eat from the garbage, it's quite um, you know uh, yeah, it create can create impression, really can create real impression. So when people can really feel from the message of campaign, it means that the campaign itself is quite successful. So you need to devise your strategy. um, you you now have the objective, yeah, the three objectives that was created before. uh, so how you will accomplish them? uh, the strategies should resonate with your audience and be visible for your organization resources and time frame. So in the real life, for example, if you work in advertising agency, for example, or NGO and so many institution, you need to consider these three things about our asset, our resources, and our time frame. We cannot make the strategy that beyond our budget or beyond our resources. And then the end result must be relevant and useful to a wide range of rural communities. It means that you for in our in our excitement to create a creative campaign, usually we forget about our real goal, that we need to help uh, some communities. Okay, and it can be quite dangerous because we create this campaign to help someone. We need to firstly we have to understand that. So we have to create our strategy as relevant as possible to the problems from the communities itself. And then our strategy will align with need to be aligned with our research finding about the media use, for example, about the target and so on. So I guess in the next lecture, you will learn about how to do some research to this community. How can you ask the precise question um, to identify their needs, and from their needs, you can formulate your goal, your campaign goals. Yeah, this very strong campaigns. Yeah, from I can't remember who created this, but this campaign actually in the form of billboard in front of the uh, in the side of the road. So this billboard has the photo of the child, but when the rain comes, um, the team, the advertising team, makes a special mix of, I don't know, red paint with chemicals. When the rain comes, so it will show that the billboard will run red with the red paint. And the message is, you need to be careful when it's rain, because rain can change anything. At 1 second you are fine with your family, and but you are if the rain comes and you are not careful, you will find your child in very you know in accident and so on. So we need to and this campaign is the one of the example about how the insight is quite important in creating digital campaign. So what's an insight? Insight means the deep understanding of the target audience and the issue that you face. When I talk about the deep understanding, it means just the what you found in the data in your research, but something that really profound from the um, uh, from the target audience. Um, the most I think famous the most famous example about how the advertising industry utilize insight is in Axe perfume. If you, I'm not sure if you have in your country the Axe perfume is one of the uh, product from Unilever, if I'm not mistaken. So around maybe 2 or 3 decades ago, Axe perfume is considered one of the non-popular perfume at that time, non-popular fragrance, and the Unilever plan to, to cut it. They want to stop its production, but after campaign, one campaign, it really popular around the world. So the campaign is based on this one insight. The insight is um, actually men, they don't want just uh, one women in their life. So they want more. Yeah, that's the real insight. I know it's quite depressing for women actually, but the acts as a fragrance, they really understand that uh, deep down, every man they want more than one partner. Okay, and they utilize that into their campaign strategy. Acts you if you want to check, if you want to check in YouTube, there are so many example of Axe previous advertisement in and you can see that they always have the same tone. A man usually at first this man usually looks like a loser or or yeah, loser, and then he use Axe fragrance, and then he will be chased by numerous um sexy women or some so on.
Apologize, Mr. Angga. It is 15 minutes left. If you like to start the Q&A, there are several questions in the chat box. If you like to
Okay, okay,
answer it, thank you.
okay, okay, and continuing from the insights. So the Axe perfume becomes so popular at the time, and because and you need to understand the power of the insight, the understanding of the target, your target audience. In this case, the community, so you can utilize it in your campaign strategy. And then the last thing you need to understand, you need to develop precise messages. Yeah, develop the precise message is quite important because you need to make in advertising we call it as a copy. It means that the text, the real message that you want to convey to your audience, yeah, you need to formulate it in a very creative and impactful way. For example, like in these cases, we have, and it's quite creative, I guess. Um, in several supermarkets, um, you have the the meat section, the I don't know how to say it, the section that sell meat. I don't know, but and then this campaign they create um, this actually it's just um, the photo of the women with the message in it, and then they took and they just take this picture in the mid section, but the campaign message is very impactful. It said that if you pay for prostitute, you are financing human trading. It means that whoever try to, buy prostitute means they just like buying meat in the grocery store. Just simple as that, and that's really, inhumane. Inhumane. And the last thing is you need to be creative, I guess. I think this is the real challenge and the opportunity for you. The Generation Z, yeah, like yourself, has so many ideas about how you can, utilize the media. Today we have TikTok. Today we have Instagram. Today we have just so many other. And the important thing is you do not need to have so many budget, I guess. You can create your own messages by yourself, creating your own messages, and then send it. Everyone can see your messages and create impactful effect to the others. Okay, that's all I guess from my introduction to digital campaign. Maybe we can talk more in Q&A session.
Okay, Mr. Anggat, there are several questions addressed by the participants. Okay, let me start from the top. Sorry. From Daniel. Culture and material differ based on social media platform because example, the crowd that use Facebook and Instagram are different. Mr. Angga?
Oh, okay. Oh yeah, yeah. I think it's quite interesting question. Yeah. But we need to understand that the social media itself actually, uh, you social media is quite unique. Yeah, because uh, we can you know create a real um, difference different we can differentiate our platform based on our target. For example, if you want to talk to the old folks, the older person, your maybe your father, your mother, your grandparents, I guess you need to talk in Facebook because yeah, Facebook can create the feel of communities. You can create some real group, swapping photos and so on. Um, yeah, you really understand that. I'm not really sure that um, many of you still use Facebook today. I mean, you have Facebook, but you just you know check it in in one day or two, but you are focused on Instagram. I mean, you need to understand each character of the platform. For example, if you want to use the Instagram, it means that Instagram has their own character. I guess it's focused on the youth, the uh, usually young people aged 15 to 25. They usually use Instagram in sharing their life, their in their stories. But if you want to talk to the other person, you can use Facebook. It's just an example. I mean, you need to understand more about how the Facebook, the Instagram, and Twitter works, and it can be really different in between one country and another. For example, here in Indonesia, the old people usually talk in WhatsApp group. It can be really toxic, yeah, really toxic because there's so many fake news and so on. But if I want to share my strategy in WhatsApp, it can be more promising than if I share my strategy in Facebook in Indonesia case. But if you from Malaysia, you are from other country, it can be really different. So you need to check the character of its platform. I guess that's the question.
Okay. We have questions from Jenny. I have the questions on how you are going to deliver your digital campaign to a remote nor local community who has having limited technology to use, especially in this pandemic era.
Yeah. Everybody talking about digital, and sometimes they cannot remember that not everyone include in this digital world. I mean, we talk about the digital divide here. In that, and I think that's very um, I think it's a very good question because that's what really happened here in Indonesia. When people in the rural area, they don't have they don't have access to electricity. Can you imagine? Some people don't have access to electricity, but yeah, but here in urban life, wah, there's so many media we can access. So how we can utilize this media to help them. We need to understand that the social campaign is not focused on. It means we try to help those in remote area. It's true, but our communication strategy is to the people who we can I mean we can contact. It means that we cannot be um, how to say it. Our strategy is not focused on the people on the rural area, no, but we try to rally the cause. We try to uh, create an awareness to the people in urban areas to understand that uh, we have brother and sister in the remote area that needs our help. Yeah. So even if this, so even if those in the rural area don't have a direct, direct connection to our campaign, that's okay. What we need to understand is what we need to understand from them is what they need and what we can help, and then we can help. I can gather the help that they need by creating the digital campaign. So, um, but I'm not really sure that that's the ideal ways because there are so many cases when the those who create the campaign forget who they want to help. So the question is, for example, uh, my students in communication, they create a campaign to help those in the need in rural areas, but basically they just create some they create campaign that based on their assumption to the people in rural area, and that can be really dangerous because our assumption and what these people from the rural area needs can be really different, and we can have our bigotry, we can have our many. So we need to do some research to understand these people from the rural area. I guess that's my question.
Okay, thank you so much, Masanga. And for the next questions is asking, it is possible to provide these slides to the participants? Is that okay?
Okay, okay. Can you have?
Okay, okay.
Yeah, you
Mr.
can.
Angga will share to committee and committee will distribute to all of the participants.
Yeah.
Okay, for the next one is coming from your ITM is asking, I wanted to know, I want to ask how effective this creative campaign has been in acutely creating awareness among the society. What are the significant changes that has been recorded or seen?
Yeah, we're talking about awareness here, and it's very, it's very sensitive subject in marketing, in communication, because when we talk about awareness, it usually, uh, people have assumption, people have bias when we talk about the real awareness. For example, uh, we talk about, for example, like this. So you create um, campaign to, you know, to, for example, uh, to preserve the nature or the environment. And today you launch your campaign, and tomorrow you have like 200 or maybe 1,000 new followers in your Instagram. Does it mean that these 2,000 people who follow you have the same awareness to your program, to your campaign? That's real big question here, because in digital landscape, we talk about anonymity, we talk about bots, bots, the unorganic followers, where you can buy it. There are so many, services that, sell this uh, goose follower. I mean, you just pay like 2,000, maybe in rupiahs, for example, like 5 million rupiahs, and tomorrow suddenly your account have like what, I don't 100,000 followers, but it's but that's not a real person. So the question of the awareness here can be, you know, uh, it's problematic at least. But I think but the if we really want to create a real and successful digital campaign, you need to understand that first people need to understand and know our mission before they can commit to our cause. And how we can make them understand is by sharing our awareness about our campaign. What we need to understand is we cannot blind it by just the number of the follower, for example, or number of the sharing, but we need to understand the real engagement, yeah, of the people when we talk about our mission. For example, um, when people asking about us about our mission, how can they help, and just giving comment, it means that they really care. They can be with us or against us. It's not, that's not really matter, but it means that they know about us. This real connection is you should understand. You should keep your eyes on, rather than the numbers of the followers, for example. I think that's from my
Thank you so much.
answer.
Yeah, okay, I'm sorry, the time is up, but the questions is keep coming from the participants. Really appreciated all of the active participation from the participants. We do really promise to participants, we try to compile all of the questions that we would like to send to the speakers. And if uh, from willingness from Mas Angga, if you want to answer it all of the questions, we will distribute to
No
the
problem, no problem.
participants as well. Okay, thank you so much. Give big applause to Mr. Angga, guys. Thank you so much to for one. Yeah, I do have audience in here. Okay. I would like to proceed to our second lecture session. This session will be led by the uh, lecturer from Faculty of Social and Political Sciences Universitas Airlangga. She is a lecturer in Department of Communication. Her name is Miss Nisa Kurnia Ilahati, Sarjana Sosial, Magister Media dan Komunikasi. Miss Nisa.
Hello, everybody. How are you?
Hi, really good to
Hi,
see you.
Viro.
Really happy to see you, Ibu.
Yeah.
Miss Nisa in here will talk about research for digital campaign. So, Ibu, the time is yours.
Thank you, Viro. So, I welcome you all, and I'm thankful for this opportunity to collaboration with all of you here. And before I started my session, I will, because we're going to talk about community engagement. So the keywords is community plus engagement. So you need to engage with each other. So I will give you a picture. So can the community please show the picture? I will give you a picture, and I want you to discuss this particular picture with your groups. Can the communities, I've already sent the pictures to the community. And after that, we can talk about the research that we can do to, well, maybe formulate what kind of strategy, or maybe the talk about the efficiency and all of that after you discuss this particular campaign. So
Yeah,
the community,
sorry. Yeah, Ibu
please show me
Nisa,
the.
there is a technical issues. We will try
Okay,
again to.
I will try to show it
Perfect, thank
on
you,
my
Ibu.
screen.
Mhm.
Oh, it's it's there.
Started.
Okay, I will try to share this on my screen. So because I'm not living in a urban, so-called urban area, so my internet connection not really good. So uh I hope it can be shown. So here it is. So this is the picture. Can you see it? No? Not yet? Okay. Oh, too bad. Why? So, okay. Can you see it? No? Not yet?
No.
Oh, why? Why? Why is it difficult to see?
Ibu, would you mind to forward it to me or through the chat
Okay.
box?
Okay.
Please forward it
Oh
to
yeah, you're
the
right. You're
next
right. I can share it at the chat
university.
box. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I will share it.
Okay.
So everybody will get the picture, and we won't show it in the on the screen, but you can start to discuss with your own respective groups about this particular picture. So that's the picture. Oh, yeah. Okay, it's on the chat box. So I will give you 10 minutes to speak and discuss with your own groups about this particular picture. Nah, this is one. And after that, I will ask you about this picture. So the community, please help me to give them a breakout room for
Okay, Miss Nisa,
discussion.
I will start the
Thank you,
breakout rooms
Chai.
in a moment. So for all the participants, you will be joining the breakout rooms, and I will start now. So basically, there are participants who are not yet assigned. For those of you whose username is not written by your group, please rename your username by writing your university, your group number, and also the last one is your name or full name.
Halo Mas Cai. Aku
Yes, yes.
assign di grup 8 ya Mas.
Okay. Wait.
Thank you.
Mbak Nisa, maybe you also
Yeah.
can type in the chat room about the
Okay.
questions for the discussion so everybody could see, and I will
Okay.
broadcast message to all.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Mbak. Mbak Nisa, saya izin untuk close room untuk breakout-nya ya, Mbak.
Silakan, silakan.
Sudah 10 menit. Siap, terima
Nice.
kasih.
Great. So everybody already joined to the main room? Okay. So anybody wants to share their opinion about the particular campaign? Please raise your hand if you want to. And if any of you don't
Hello.
want to, then I will ask help from Tahia to maybe pick one of our participants uh, to tell what their opinion about the campaign.
Oke, Mbak
Yeah,
Nisa. Maybe I will choose one from group
there's us
8.
participants who raise their hand, Mas Chaya. Maybe we can.
Oh, oke, there are
Yeah.
3 ya,
Okay,
saya
please choose
kira.
one of them. Yeah, just
Oke,
one.
please maybe for the first one from Universitas Airlangga, Hen, can you hear me, Hen?
Hello?
You raise your hand, right?
Yeah.
Yes, please. You can voice out your opinion.
Uh, Assalamualaikum. Thank you very much for sharing this. Actually, when I see the photo the first time, what I think about is that this person who suffers and who like starving or something is the one who's the dark-skinned child. Although this is the first thing that it comes up to my mind. Although I think this will happen with a lot of us because we have this idea in our mind. So we will forget that what we see are just children who are the same, who are innocent, but we will still have this way of thinking of discrimination between the colors. Is something maybe it's already in our minds, so we will just think about it, even if they are only children, even we cannot see their faces just from behind, but we still have this idea. So this is what I felt from the first time I saw this photo.
Thank you, Han. So maybe one more. Tasbiul Hussein. Do I pronounce your name right?
Yeah, it's perfect.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'm Tasbih Hussein. So, what I thought in the first when I saw the picture, like someone is facing the hunger, poverty, and diseases. Yeah, or turn on my camera. Yeah. So someone is hello.
Yeah, we can hear you.
So someone is facing the hunger and poverty and diseases. So the another one is still facing the prejudice. So maybe you are living in a good society as far someone is talk about discrimination. So what we see that white people and black people, so maybe you have a good society, but still you don't have any good life in future. At the same time, maybe you born in a what it say, a lower family or a lower society, as like we divided in classes, like higher class, secondary class, third class. So you also don't maybe have a good life in future. So what I thought when I saw the picture at first.
Thank you, Hussein, for your opinion. So, as can the community please help me to share my PowerPoint while
Yes.
they're try to prepare that. I will talk a bit about that particular campaign. So
Okay. Okay,
the
sure.
problem, yeah.
Sure, Miss Nisha, I will help you to share the screen.
What? Can you?
Uh, I,
I
I
can
will
unmute.
help you to share the PowerPoint.
Okay, thank you, Dia.
Okay.
So sorry. So we're gonna talk a bit about the the picture. At first, at glance, when we see the picture, the first thing that comes to our mind is that we need to compare between two subjects that exist inside the pictures. And after that, the next distinction came from the race or the color of the skin. We see a black skin and we see a white skin. And when we see those distinctive colors, we think that some identity and some characteristic were inflicted inside the color of the skin. That black skin have an association with some of a negative characteristic. That's why when the typography, the text saying about hunger and poverty, then we our mind tricking us to think that this particular concept is indeed belong to one of the other two, while we cannot see that they actually have the same body. Nobody is hungry because you can see that they have a very beautiful body proportion as a baby. They don't have any problem with hunger and poverty. The problem is in our mind that sometimes we see something, but we cannot see it clearly. So that's also the problem about community engagement. Sometimes we are busy try to uh, try to make a differences that according to our mind it's a must, while the community itself may be thinking it the other way. So the first step into engaging with the community is try to walk on their shoes, is try to think what they think and see using their eyes. So today, my presentations, we will talking about the research for digital campaign. However, I will not put a very, well, maybe technical stuff here, but I will try to, uh, what Mas Angga said earlier about insight. I want to dig your insight about what should we do for the community. Are we doing it for the community or are we doing it for ourselves? This is sometimes a very what makes community engagement are such a difficult things to do, because we have our own idealism while the community they have their own idealism, and sometimes it didn't match. That's why the community engagement program sometimes fail, because we are failed to integrate what our minds want, what our goal is with them. Well, the key point of community engagement is having one mind, a clear mind about what should we strive, what should we go after this, what's the goal? What's the objective that we need to achieve? So I want you to begin your before you start your project, I want you to begin with this particular perspectives that you're doing it not for yourself, but you're doing it to help others, and you need to integrate what your mind saying you to do and what's the community wants you to do. So research for digital campaign, maybe next, why we need research for digital campaign in uh, community engagement in particular. This is a very specific. Next, so why we need research? Because research is a foundation for strategy. Without research, we cannot have a predictive answer about what we should do and what's the goal for doing this particular program. So why should we do research? Because we need the foundation, because we need to understand first what's the community needs and what is your responsibility to help them achieve those needs. Later on I will show you some campaign that it's worked for the community, like attend the earlier session, and some of you talking about the efficiency, and some of you talking about if we facing digital divide, what should we do? So I'm going to talk about that later. So next, why? Because we need the foundation to make a strategy. Next, so the principle of community engagement. We have 4 principles if we want to do a community engagement campaign, digital campaign. Why digital? Because it's no pandemic. But actually, if we talk about community engagement, almost when we facing with the rural area or maybe a very remote area, they're not using the digital campaign, but we can help them to raise awareness into a very global perspective about their problems. So for our principles, if we want to do a digital campaign, the first one is identifying your target audience, as Mas Angga said earlier. And the second, you know the digital area you should be active in, then study the competition. By competition, it doesn't necessarily mean that we have another organization or institution that strive for the same goal or objective. Not that kind of competition, but the competition with other ideas. For an example, the government ideas about how this community should be treated as, or maybe we are competing with the other ideas about how this community can strive for its best. So that's the competition. And we need also to study when we facing with a very specific target audience, we need to study that how our idea can compete with their own idea. For an example, for you, something that's pleasing and entertaining would be very important for them, while some others don't. That's why we need to compete with those ideas. And then you need to identify key influencers. So next, this is the principles on doing a digital campaign on community engagement. So I will adopt the context of marketing mix by Kotler. However, I will try to modify it a little bit so that it can fulfill the needs of social marketing, or in this particular concept is the campaign for community engagement. So the 4P that we're talking about in a Kotler perspective, the marketing mix is how we mix 4 concepts into a one target audience. So how we should make the product, the place, the price, and the promotion, so that the target audience can find it important and they will buy it. That's a very commercial way of thinking by Kotler. However, Kotler also modify, not only we sell products that tangible, but we can also, quotes and quotes, an idea for social marketing to make the words better. So he modified the concept of 4P into different concept of 4P. The first P is purpose, the second P is platform, the third is participation, and the fourth is performance. So I'm going to talk about each of these concepts and how we should conduct research on one of these each concept. So the first one, next, the first one is purpose. So you can find this particular documentary film on YouTube. This film was made in was not made. It they made it in 2017 until 2018, but they published it in 2019. So uh, this movie talking about the explorations of oil in Indonesia. So the filmmaker is Dandi Laksono. He is part of the Watchdog, uh, an organization that wants to raise awareness about what's happening with our nature in Indonesia. So before this particular movie, they already made some of documentary movie, and some of it is being shown in television. However, the public not respond uh, linearly. They think that this is not important for me because I'm not part of that particular community, and so on and so forth. Because at that time, Watch Dogs makes those films with their own idealism about raising nation awareness about there's something happening here and we need to pay attention to it. And after that, the filmmaker thinks that, oh, I should stop doing this. So what he's doing with their own organization is they're changing their perspective, that the purposes of making this film is not for the whole nation, it's not for the whole global society to watch, it's for the community, to help them to know them better and to help them to know what's happened around them and help them to advocate that what they need and we should provide something for them. So after that, in 2015, the Watchdog changing their perspective on making documentary film. So while before they are thinking of when they're making a documentary film, we should strive for the cinema chain, the commercial chain, but it never works. So after that, they're changing uh, their own way to publish their film. So this film actually were not being seen from YouTube at first. They're doing a local cinema using a white cloth to become the projects of the film itself using a projector, and they're walking uh, from village to other village in East Kalimantan where this movie is being made. They want to raise awareness from the community itself first, and then after that strive for the bigger audiences. And that's clearly worked. You can see after this in YouTube, and you can watch, maybe our Indonesian fellow already watched this movie before. And this is actually interesting because this is one of the biggest movie at 2019 facing the election, and strive people awareness that uh, sometimes we are fighting with not with our enemy, but we are fighting among ourselves. So this particular movie shows that the oil industry in Indonesia is owned by the elites, and all of these elites are part of the incumbent government and also the opposition to the government. So both of them are actually the elites that own all of the privileges. While at the grassroots, we are finding each other about how we should defend our respective uh, president or maybe governor or whatever, but they are indeed inside of the same circle. And this movie opening the eye because of what? Because of the purposes. How can they fix these purposes? How can they know that this is the purpose of the movie? It's by research. They come to the East Kalimantan, they ask the rural people in the remote area, what do you feel? They asked the fishermen, how's the quality of fish here? And how is the area that you breathe? Are you feeling something bad while you are breathing? Or maybe do you find any health problem after the exploration and things like that? And after that, they deliver it into the movie. Next. So the purposes, like what I said earlier, next please. The purposes is not ours. It's the community perspectives. It's the community-driven purpose. Back for one slide first. Now, the purposes, the first one, if we want to strive a purpose, if we want to make a purpose of the research, the first one is you need to give community members a place to express themselves. You need to ask, you need to know their point of view and also the shoes that they were wearing while walking their condition to understand. The second is you are focused on community moderation. Means that what Dundee do with the sexy killers, as a critical person, he wants to deliver a lot of critic to the government, but he understands that if he wants to make the critic too harsh, then it will make problems. This is the same with if we want to do a digital campaign in the social media. If we want to take the harsh way, then there are risks for us to be terminated by maybe the community guidelines, or maybe by the platform, the provider, or maybe by the government, because I think in all of the country you have the regulations for the electronic transaction and also information. And also segment your use base for epic community development. You need to understand what they want to do in their future and what they want to be strive. And then also bring your social media following into your own close community. Make it fun to be your fan. When you are doing when we do a digital campaign, we have to make it for the other people that this is fun to following your ideas, that they want to help that. So that's the purposes on having a digital campaign. And encourage your member to invest some time and effort, because that's all we have. We don't have the privilege of make a regulations, or maybe we don't have the privilege to maybe financial capital and all of those things, but we have our time and we have our effort. So that's how we make the purpose, and that's how we research on the community itself, how we should take their point of view. So we need to engage with them. We need to do in-depth interview with them. We need to live with them, quotes on quotes. We need to understand what's the value behind. And the observation, we can do it directly or indirectly. And we can also learn from other community that's already helping this particular community with the similar condition. So next, we're gonna talk about the participation. I'll give you an example. This is the community organization. It's a non-commercial organization. It's called Tunas Hijau. So when we talk about community engagement, when we see the concept of engagement, it always talk about several part of the society that works together into reigning one particular objectives. So for an example, you can see in this poster how the organization tried to engage with a lot of other in the community that has been there, and how can they help this particular program. So you can see in the logo, we have the government, we have the NGO, we have the the private company, we also have the transportation company, and we have the person that represent that this movement coming from the own community. So those pictures of person is not a very well-known person. It's not a celebrity. It's an ordinary person who do the the ecological way of life. So there are ordinary person, but they are doing the green way. And the Tunas Hijau, the NGO, tried to promote them. And while engaging with all of these community elements into a one program. So that's our strive. We need to integrate all of these community elements to make them aware that we have the same objectives, that we need to do this, as this is a very important issue and we need to tackle this. So next, that's the concept of participation. So how can we measure participation? So if you want to do a research on participation, then there are three key factors that we need to measure inside of the participation. And the first one is frequency of attendance. So if you want to do a digital campaign, then uh, you need to differentiate between several elements that working with you inside this campaign. Maybe yourself, as you are part of the higher education institution, maybe the NGO, or maybe the community itself. Then you need to measure each of the participant inside of the program. So the first one is the frequency of attendance. The second one is quality of participation in specific activity. For an example, if you post something, do they repost it? Do they comment on it? Do they like it? Or do they share it? Or do they make modifications of that into a larger platform or whatever? That's the quality of participation. And the third one, you need to draw a database on engagement activity. How we make a database from the engagement activity? There is one method. It's called sociogram. So we need to make a map of how people interact each other. How can we make this particular map? We can ask for one person, for an example A, we ask A about a particular issue. For an example, if we talk about the zero waste issue, we asking A, do you know about zero waste? Yeah, I know. From whom you know about the zero waste? Then you ask him to mention three other names. And after that, you ask for these three other names to give you three other names. And after that, you can make a map of how the information and how the communication networks uh, is uh, being worked on, and that's particular in that particular community. So that's how we draw a database of engagement activity. In the online campaign, this is much easier because for each post, we can see who commenting, who share it, and whatever they do with those posts, because our digital platform already provide those data inside of the stat. So we can see it uh, easily. So that's how we measure participation. So after that, we can reevaluate whether we need to give more insight or maybe give more incentives on participation, or we should, or do we need to pay attention to other things. So that's the participation. Next is the platform. The platform mean we need to choose what kind of media that can be used by us in a very efficient way, as you say, as I said earlier, and also what you talking about in last session about do we have to use the digital platform or we can use the other platform. So basically we can use any platform available for the community, but for this particular program, the context is in the digital platform. And the challenges are the digital divide. Not all of the community have the same infrastructure to access the technology. That's the physical part. And second, we have the intelligence part. Not every member of society have the same knowledge about how they need to interpret those messages. Not every uh, element in the society or the community knows how to interpret this message correctly. They don't have the same literacy as we are as a higher education students, and that's the homework that we need to finish. So next, when we choose the platform, so what research do we need to do to choose those particular platform? Next. This is the questions that you need to answer inside of your research, inside of your observation. If you want to choose a digital platform, a very specific digital platform, then you need to ask, is the platform user friendly for yourself and for your target audiences and for your own community that you want to have? So you need to look at the community point of view. What do they want? You need to facilitate them to understand that what's their actually need. The second question is the platform suitable for all your campaign objectives? The third question that needs to be answered is, does it provide meaningful reporting with safe data storage? Is the platform responsive and functional on all devices? And does it offer easy and automated moderation? As we know that medium is the message. Some people choosing one particular platform because they feel like this particular platform can represent them well. So that's why there are differences on choosing the digital media platform. And also, while we are consuming a message from different digital platforms, it it makes a different impact on our cognitive structure. For an example, if you see Instagram, uh, which is pictorial based, then you will have more comfortable way of looking. But when you are accessing Twitter, while it's textual based, then your cognitive structure will work more. So, for an example, as we see in January 2019, the social platform still dominated by Facebook, and after that, all of those platforms that only exist in China is rising up. At that time, we don't have TikTok. We already the TikTok already there in 2017, but in this particular survey, TikTok was not shown. But however, if you try to search TikTok now, it's on the third digital platform that we access. It means that this is a very dynamic way of seeing how digital platform works, and we need to pay attention, extra attention on that. Next, that's how you choose the platform. You need to observe the platform using those particular questions. And the fourth one is performance, how we measure our performance. This is one example of how community engagement works in Indonesia. After COVID strikes in February 2020, we have this digital platform, a crowdfunding organization called kitabisa.com, or in Bahasa or in English, we can, or GoFundMe page. If you can look at the different application or platform in US, it's GoFundMe page. But in Indonesia, kita bisa. Kita bisa means we can, because Indonesia is a very collective, we have a very collective culture. That's why the platform name is kita. Kita mean we. Mean that you cannot stand alone. It's quite different from GoFundMe, which is the objective is for me, for an individual, while kita mean that we need to work together. So this is the crowdfunding. At that time, one of Indonesian celebgram or celebrity in Instagram, Rachel Fenya, started a campaign about what can we do to help this entropy, this pandemic that makes everyone confused about what should they do, what can they face this, I how can we help and things like that. So she started a campaign on helping each other against COVID-19. He started this campaign, and you can see the progress between 73 day into 67. It means about the difference is about, oh, I'm so bad at math, I'm so sorry, but it's not more than 10 days. The rising of the numbers from 3 billion rupiahs into 7 billion, which it's mean twice the number. So we need to see how can we strive for this kind of performance, because the platform that we use for the campaign, maybe it's virtual, but the change is real. We need to strive for the actual changes that happens in the community. So what should we do? We can make a next, for an example, if we want to measure our performance, we want to research how our performance work, well, then we can start by using KPI or key performance indicator. But the key performance indicators for community engagement are slightly different than the KPI for the commercial organizations or for private organizations, or maybe well, any other that have a commercial objectives. So how we measure our community engagement? By using KPIs that represent the data that you can track in order to measure the success of your community. Do they reach their goals? So by this performance that we can use for digital community, digital campaign for community engagement, the first one is community members, the number of users signing up to the community. The second ones are engagement rates. The third one is traffic. Engagement rates mean the active contributors in the community, and the traffic is page visitor per month. And all of these stats are provided inside of those platforms, those digital platforms that you only need to choose. Next. So how can we measure the community member KPIs? The first one, we need to be extra patient if we want to help other community, as it is sometimes we are not part of this community, but we know that they are in needing of our help. We need to facilitate them to know them better. So ask yourself if it's realistic or even necessary to expect a rise in community members in your first year. That means that you need to be extra patient when you are building a community. I talked about it in a very idealistic way. So what should we do? The first one is you need to benchmarking with similar communities. I'm sorry, here is rain. I hope you can hear my voice clearly and not being distracted by the rain sound. And then the next, find out how many people will actually be interested in your community. So we need to generate a monthly user reports to measure the KPIs for our community engagement. The first one is the total amount of user. The second one, the new users in the past month. And we need to make this report monthly, and active versus inactive users. And after 3 to 6 months, you should be able to figure out what the growth pattern is for your community and continue to benchmark from experiences rather from the competitors and research. Next, this is an example of how the exponent of the active user compare with time. As you can see here, the active user is the user that considered active in a month when he has account, created a topic or event, created a post. It means that they are active. While inactive, they may be only signing up but without any further engagement. As you can see here, this is a you can click the link and you can get to know how they make this particular graphic, that we can say that this is a very steady growth on the users of the platform. So it's not very rapid. And when you build a community, this is what's actually going to happen. So you need to be prepared on that. Next. So the second one, after we are counting or measure about the user, so the second one to be looked at are next is the community engagement KPIs. So this is Favor B. Favor B is a organization that a consultant organization that looks at how community can build their own platform. So as you can see, the sense of community in the first year, it's almost close to zero. Means that you cannot uh, it's not easy to establish a community. I have 2 minutes left, so I will make it quicker. Next, so how we should measure this? Then you need to determine a realistic benchmark for engagement. So monthly engagement report that answer this question: how many new likes were there in the past month? How many comments and how many new posts, events, and topics did your community members create over the past month? The community, not the admin. Next. And the last one is traffic. You need to count or measure the traffic. Focusing on traffic in the first year, showing your potential for adding new members and increasing engagement. So how can we make a generate monthly traffic report? The first one is you need to see the total number of visitors, and the second one is you need to compare between the new visitors versus recurring visitors, and the visitors to the homepage and visitors to the sign up page versus new sign ups. So you need to count this, measure this, and so you know that what is actually happening inside your campaign and how we count the efficient and effectiveness of our digital campaign. Next. So there are several alternative methods. You only need to type the keywords here, and you can Google it, and you can find how step by step on doing these alternative methods. I will give you my presentation, and after that you can search for it by yourself. Next. So that's all for my presentation. And then the next one is the FGD or discussion. Maybe I will give the topic for now, and then after that we're going to the Q&A session. So next, I need you to talk within your groups. You already found your community partners, and I need you to make a map, brainstorm your plan on the purposes of your campaign, your target audience, and the platform. I only need you to brainstorm about these three concepts. So before that, I will take the Q&A session. So thank you for your kind attention. If you have any question, you can raise your hand, or maybe you can write it on the chat box, and I'll try my best to explain at least on what I've already said earlier.
Thanks a lot, Mbak Nisa, for your presentation. So basically, one of the basic thing that you need to do before doing the campaign is that you need to do research, because it is the basic foundations on how you know about your target audience, on how you will deliver your message, and what is the right message that could be sent to the community, and whether it is beneficial for them or not. Thank you, Mbak Nisa. And now we would like to open the Q&A session, and maybe after that we will have a breakout rooms, or the other way around, Mbak Nisa.
Okay.
Okay. And now we have one question from Dianita Nurhalisa from Universitas Airlangga. So basically the questions: how far do you think the limit is of a digital campaign to attract people awareness? Some campaigns like the X and advertisement Mr. Angga mentioned and Sexy Killer, both of them have sexual and have even sexist undertone. The YouTube thumbnail of Sexy Killer refers to the people on a bed, as far as I remember. There are some other problematic and even downright racist ads and campaigns too out there. This of course works, but is it ethical?
Okay. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Dea, for your
Feel
question. Okay. Okay, thank you, Dea, for the actually I have same minds about the using of some problematic words. Well, if I say it's kind of different if we see the X campaign versus the sexy killers campaign, even though they are both using the same uh, transfer of concepts. They're using the same concept to deliver something, which is uh, quite disturbing for me because sexy killers is viral not because of people want to see the politics behind, but the first one is because of the title. And if you see the opening act, it actually uh, kind of make a pathways onto different things that actually being shown inside of the movie. It's a different content, and the filmmaker you makes that particular introduction to make people uh, try to sit and look at it first. And unfortunately, as a community, as I said earlier about that particular picture that I've been showing you in the first at first, we have problems with sexism, we have problems with racism, but we also have priority on problem. We need to understand and we need to prioritize what needs to be solved first. It doesn't necessarily mean that sexism is a worse it's a worse condition than the nature exploration. It's not that easy, it's not that simple to put the priority. But once again, we need to understand how the community works, and if we can promote how they want to change themselves and what kind of advancement that they need to be have, then we need to start with that first. And when we talk about a digital something that viral in a digital platform, well, it's always talk about the dominant discourses. It's always talk about the dominant power that works in our every level of community. And we cannot escape that unless you are part of the privilege and you can change that. However, we can start to change in a very micro level. We can change it from ourselves and the community that we try to facilitate. So in ethical perspective, I cannot give an exact answer because if we want to give a judgment, is it ethical or is it unethical? We need more than a variable of concept. We need more than that. We need to look at the surrounding circumstances. If we look only, or they're using one concept that this is sexist, or maybe this is a discriminative, or this is without seeing the whole of the content, it's not fair. So is it ethical? I cannot answer that because I cannot see the other variables that needs to be take into consideration if I want to judge something. But if I ever have the opportunity to make a digital campaign, I won't use that words. I will use something that more neutral. But what kind of words that are neutral? Maybe for other person it's not neutral. That's what's so tricky about digital campaign, because you are not only looking at your mind or your surroundings uh, or your community in particular, you look at the whole other community and humanity in a respectful ways, that we have a different kind of uh, point of view, and we have a different kind of way of thinking and all of those things. So I hope it can answer the question from there.
Thank you, Mbak Nisa. So basically what we think it is unethical doesn't necessarily mean unethical for the other person. However, maybe we can agree, Mbak Nisa, but is that the thing when you post something to social media, everyone can see and everyone can track your digital traces. There is a history of you in the internet, so you have to be careful in posting all of the things that you would like to do in digital arena, especially for the digital campaign itself. And thank you, Mbak Nisa. Since we have 2 minutes left, I'm sorry, Mbak Nisa, I don't think we can have the breakout room session. However, we
Okay.
will deliver your question and discussion into the WhatsApp groups. And maybe we can have one more question that is coming from Desi Rahmawati from Muhammadiyah University of Surabaya. Exactly, what are the recent trends and development in digital campaign? Time is yours, Mbak Nisa.
Maybe I will ask Daisy, what do you mean by recent trends and developments in digital campaign, as in the platform or in the content, or in what ways? Maybe Daisy can explain more, or maybe give me concrete examples of what she meant by the trends and developments. Can we do that, Chai?
Sure, Mbak Nisa. Desi, can you hear us? Desi Rahmawati.
Okay. So
Okay,
if not,
maybe.
I hope I'm not interpreted this. I hope I'm not misinterpret the question from Daisy, but I think she wants to ask about uh, what's the correct, or maybe what's the most efficient or maybe effective digital platform to use for the campaign. And the answer is depends. We have a lot of variables that needs to be taken into consideration on choosing the digital platform. But the trend nowadays is talking about the micro level influencers. So starting in 2019, the community engagement program that using digital platform is uh, having their own transgression. That before, if we want to make a change, then we should strive for something major, something that influence a lot of people. Well, actually, the trend is now transgressing. It's moving from the macro influencer into micro influencer. Means that the micro influencer have more engagement with the community itself, so they should know better. And the micro influencer also have a very high engagement with their own respective followers, not only engage in terms of if they want to promote something, but also that they interact in a very personal way. So that's the trends nowadays. So if we want to do a digital campaign with a very specific uh, contact, then we need the micro influencer to joining our campaign, so we can uh, as we understand that the micro change will lead to a major change as long as we worked on it continuously, and also making continuous improvement in our program. So maybe I hope it can answer the question, Chai.
Thank you, Mbak Nisa. If
I
I'm
hope
not
I don't
mistaken,
misinterpret it.
micro
Yeah.
influencer are the ones who have maybe like 1,000 until 10,000 followers. Is
Yeah,
that correct,
right.
Mbak Nisa?
Yeah, you're
Okay.
right.
That is the answer from Mbak Nisa, and I think that close our session for the question and answer sessions. And I really hope you can take a very benefit from the Mbak Nisa's presentations, and you will be using it for your final projects. And last but not least, we will have group photo session, Mbak Nisa. It
Okay.
will led by Miss Tifa. Miss Tifa, are you here?
Do I
Okay.
need to do a formal pose or I can do whatever pose I want?
Whatever
I
pose
think
actually.
I think
Okay.
we'll take several screenshots. So
Okay.
Yes, we can have many
Okay.
posts as much as we want, right, Tiva?
yeah. Um,
So everyone, please turn on your video. And we also see that there is a representative from other universities such as Dr. Zainab. Hello, Dr. Zainab. Thank you for joining up until now. And yes,
Thank you, Kaya.
we will wait. Hello, doctor. Yes. Okay, we will wait until 10 seconds, right, Miss Tifa?
yes. Yeah. I think we'll wait first because several people still try to turn on their video, and I may need everyone to stop chatting in the chat box for a while so that the chat box won't pop up when I take screenshots. Okay. Is everyone ready? Okay. I'll take there are 2 slides here and I'll take twice screenshots for each slide. And so for the first one, please hold still and look to your camera, not your screen. Look to your camera for a couple of seconds. 1, 2, 3. All right. Once more for the first slide. 1, 2, 3. Okay, now on to the second slide. Smile, 1, 2, 3. Once more. 1, 2, 3. All right, we got it. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks
Thank
a
you,
lot, Miss
Tifa.
Tifa. And for the closing remark, I would like maybe to invite Dr. Zaina from UITM as also the co-organizer of this Luminar event. Would you mind to deliver 1, 2 points to all of us, Dr. Zaina?
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Chaya. Right. And to all participants today, we are very happy that we have managed to co-organize together this event. And we thank all the speakers today and all the participation from all our partner universities under the banner of ATU-Net. So once again, congratulations to University of Airlangga for leading the topic on community development. And at any time, we would like to look forward and hopefully we can have more of these sessions. And inshallah, UITM, through what Dr. Salih has actually shared with everyone, will be more than happy to share more in the near future. So once again, thank you very much to Airlangga and everyone today.
Hello, Dr. Zaina, for the wonderful closing remarks. I really am grateful for your help from UITM and also other university who co-organized this event. And maybe there is one last announcement from Ms. Dia Safira as the coordinator of this Luminar program from Universitas Airlangga. Please, Ms. Dia Safira.
Okay, guys, finally we have reached the end of the session. But we actually still have 1 day ahead before the project discussion. So I think really hope that today you can get a lot of benefits and new college from different perspectives in the digital campaign and also the community engagement. So I think that's all from us. I just want to say that don't forget to come to our second agenda for tomorrow. So we'll be having a lot of fun activities, a lot group discussions as well as the in-depth interview with the communities. So thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you so much, Miss Dia Syafira. And once again, thank you all for your participation. See you tomorrow. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Mbak Nisa,
Waalaikumsalam
Dr.
Terima kasih, Mbak
warahmatullahi
Nisa.
Zainab.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Dr.
Thank
Bye.
you
Zainab.
Thank you so
all.
Bye-bye,
much.
everyone.
See you tomorrow.
Goodbye,
See you tomorrow.
doctor.
Everybody. See you
Bye-bye.
tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Thank you, facilitators.
Thank you, facilitators, committees, and the participants. Udah tamat, Cai?
Ini ada yang minta link attendance ya.
Oh, okay.
Don't forget to fill the form for your attendance. So if you yes, Lamin.
Mr. Choi, I can see the attendance list.
You can see
The
on the
attendance
chat
link rather.
on the chat room of
Yeah, I'm
Zoom.
there, but yeah, I guess it's my connection. I just can't see it.
Oh, okay. Maybe the facilitator from group 5 will help you to fill the form. Camelia, can you help him after this?
I will, yeah, okay. I'll help you.
Thank you, Leah. Thank you for your patience, Lamin. She will send you after this. And thank you all. I will
Thank
close the
you.
Zoom now.
See you.
See you. GWS Tifa.
GWS Mbak Tif. Thank you semuanya, Fasil, panitianya.